Welcome back to another episode of the Shout Out the Devils podcast. I'm Daniel Amoia. I run Devils Report on Instagram as well as write for the Hockey Writers. I'm here alongside Justin Brady, who runs Devils Fanatics on Instagram. And the New Jersey Devils, I mean, they're really starting to establish themselves as a team that is quite good. 18-9-2 on the season. It's really hard if you're a Devils fan to ask for anything better than that. It hasn't been perfect by any stretch, but they've just been consistently winning games. Way more games than they've lost. So, a lot of good signs under new head coach Sheldon Keefe. And last night against the Seattle Kraken, 3-2 victory for the Devils. They've struggled at home, so it was an important one for them. Granted, Seattle is on the second half of a back-to-back, and they're just not that great of a team anyway to begin with. But the Devils basically did what they should. They just completely, at least in terms of pace of play, on the shot counter as well, just blew them out of the water. Final shots were 36-19, and it was a little shaky for the Devils. Didn't finish on some high danger opportunities. Markstrom was a little shaky, but regardless, they gutted it out. 3-2 victory. Justin, what were your thoughts?
I think it's just Jesper, Bratt, and Jack Hughes doing what they do best and having great games, and they're on a roll right now. I mean, Bratt has 37 points in his last 29 games. We're gonna get into him shortly coming up, and Jack Hughes had another two multi-point game. Those two are just such a dynamic duo on that top line there for the Devils. They have been great. Luke Hughes, happy that he finally got that first goal. We were talking about it last episode. We feel like the goals are gonna come at some point, and bam, there you go, Luke Hughes bangs it off Grubauer's helmet and it goes into the net. That was some shot by Luke Hughes. So overall, great stuff. And yeah, the Devils did control pace of play. They earned that win. And yes, they got some lucky bounces, but good teams take advantage of those lucky bounces, and that's exactly what they did. Jesper Bratt ricocheted off a Seattle player's leg, and then Timo Meyer was able to bury a puck in the third period off like a misfortune by a Kraken player in front of the net. So the Devils took advantage of their opportunities. And another thing is, I know the Devils weren't leading heading to the third period, but it was basically as if the Devils were playing with a third period lead, like heading into it, because they only scored like 53 seconds into the period. And this season, the Devils are 14-0 when leading heading into the third period. It felt like that again last night, even though technically it wasn't. But I just want to point that out because the Devils have been so good in that category this season, something that they had struggled with in past years. Holding on to a lead in a third period is very hard to do. It's not an easy thing. You look at the Islanders right now. That's the reason why they have such a bad record. They are struggling. The Devils were one of the teams that actually caused the Islanders to blow a third period lead in that game where the Devils came back down from 3-1 with like 4 minutes left. But the Devils, that's not a problem for them this year, and that's a reason why they're able to pile up all these wins. So it really goes to show the toughness and determination from this New Jersey Devils team. So some really impressive stuff overall. Markstrom, I wish he had a better game, but it is what it is. They got the win, and it's important to start off this to set the tone for a homestand. You don't want to start a homestand with a loss because one loss could turn into two losses, and then it could keep on going on from there. So good to start off a win, and also the Kraken. They were heading into this game, they were 0-4 on the second half of a back-to-back, a problem that the Devils dealt with last year. It's good that they took advantage of that. And Grubauer was he actually played pretty good against the Devils for some reason. I don't know why it is, but whenever a goalie comes into Prudential Center, they just play amazing. And it's just I don't know, something that happens, but the Devils were able to get three past them, and that's all that matters. And the Devils win, so very happy with the win overall.
Yeah, the Devils now actually lead the NHL in regulation wins with 17. So not only is their record good, but at the end of things, a tiebreaker, and with how close the Metro is, that could very much be in play. So the fact that the Devils are leading in that category, that most of their wins have all but one win has come in regulation, that could mean a big thing. And the Metro is such a competitive division. Obviously, the Canes are so good, the Capitals are so good, the Rangers. I have a feeling they're gonna start surging now that Trouba's out of the mix, and that's kind of the thing that's gonna wake them up. Usually, there's always that moment that wakes a team as talented as the Rangers are up. They're not gonna be that poor for that long. So just a lot of good signs. I like that you brought up Luke Hughes because on the first goal, he kind of got caught in between. Andre Burakovsky, and that's what led to Seattle's first goal. And I think eighth time in 9 games now that the Devils have given up the first goal. So it's still a trend worth watching, a little alarming, but the fact that they were able to bounce back, Sheldon Keefe told me after the game for it not to go Luke's way early, but then tonight's the game. He finally gets his first goal. It's fitting. And it truly is. Luke Hughes, just that bounce back ability from someone so young, doesn't put his head down, doesn't start pressing, just does what he does. And we've seen what his offensive game has brought to this Devils team lately. Like you said, Justin, we knew it was just a matter of time, and he finally break through. So I'd imagine the dam's open now, and it's gonna keep coming for Luke Hughes, just like it did for Dougie Hamilton a couple weeks ago when he started putting them in consistently. Um, Also is Jesper Bratt's 500th career game. Seemed very happy. He said after the game that he when he got drafted, he was just hoping and working as hard as he can just to play one. And here we are now, 500 games later. Jesper Bratt is on a 104-point pace. And Jack Hughes is around 100 as well. I mean, both of them are just peanut butter and jelly, whatever you want to call it. They are truly, like you said last episode, forming into an elite duo in this league. What have you seen at Jesper Bratt's game?
It's just the same old Jesper Bratt that not many people really see. He doesn't get the recognition he deserves around the league. And hopefully this tournament coming up, the Four Nations tournament, really highlights how good of a player he really is. He works his ass off every game, and he's not just all known for his speed. He does everything right there. He is basically a complete player as well. He can kill penalties. He's strong on defense. He uses his speed to cause turnovers. And he's an elite playmaker, and the big thing that stands out to me about Bratt is he progresses every single season. If you look at his stat line from season to season, I believe his point percentage, or basically almost, gets better and better as each season goes on. And he's having the best season of his career right now. He's on pace for 104 points. He would be the first Devil to ever do that in history if he keeps it up. And Jack Hughes is pretty close to that 100-point pace as well. So that'll be interesting to see. Do the both Devils crack 100 points in the same season, which is something that no Devil has ever done? That'd be some story right there. But um, yeah, Bratt's just really such a great player, so underrated. I just feel bad. He just really doesn't get the recognition because I feel like he gets shadowed by Jack Hughes, and it's just the reality because Jack Hughes is such a household name that Brad kind of lives in his shadow a little bit, you could say. And there's nothing wrong with that, but Brad's really starting to come out of that shadow now. Um, we see the type of things he does when moving the puck. His shot is lethal. The plays that he makes is just as good as any play that Jack Hughes can make. He's turning himself into an amazing player in this league, and I'm really excited to see if he could crack this 100-point mark. So that'll be fun to see.
Yeah, I don't think anyone who's paid attention to the Devils year by year is really surprised because just with how shifty he is, how elusive. I mean, if someone were to tell you he'd one day be 100-point player, you wouldn't really be surprised. I mean, he's just been so consistent, so good, really. And I don't think he really cares that he's quote unquote living in Jack Hughes' shadow. All the players on the Devils have commended him as one of the most professional players. I mean, his work ethic, even compared to fellow NHL counterparts, is just so off the charts. I know he's big into mental health and journaling and stuff like that, and doing all the little things behind the scenes that people may not even know about to make sure he elevates his game. And he truly is a scholar of the game and someone who just takes his craft very, very seriously. Not that other players don't, but Bratt is just wired differently than some other players. And we see that on the ice. That's why he takes a step every single year. You think he reaches his ceiling? Nope, even higher. So it's really been tremendous to watch. And I like that you brought up Four Nations because Jesper Bratt, I believe right now, is leading all Swedish scorers by 8 or 9 points. So he is single-handedly the star of that team. And that's a tournament that's going to get so much attention. And obviously, Jesper Bratt is going to play a massive role, probably first line left winger with some plenty of other talent as well. Guys like Lucas Raymond, William Nylander. But right now, points wise, Jesper Bratt's blowing them all out of the water. I think he's fifth in the NHL in points as well. Um, So it's really just tremendous stuff from Jesper Bratt, and the Devils are very lucky because, like you said, game like last night, the Devils maybe didn't fully have it, but you have a guy like Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt on the ice against some of those lower tier teams. I mean, them two could single handedly beat a team like that, and that's basically what they did. 2 points each for them. Seattle only scored 2 goals. So, just like 2 seasons ago, but both Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt are playing at better pace than that. And then goaltending seems to be better than then, even if it hasn't been perfect. The defense is certainly much better. Things are really starting to come together. So it's early. Things could happen. The team has been healthy. That's another huge thing. So that's a big thing for them. They need to stay healthy. Last season that was not the case. But right now with what we're seeing currently, if you're a Devils fan, it's hard not to like what you've seen from this team.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing in here. I believe this team, like you compare it to the season that they had 2 years ago, regular season wise, they might not have the as good of a season as they did that year. But I think this team has the capability to go deeper in the playoffs just because they are such a well balanced team. When they faced off against Carolina 2 years ago, they got outplayed, outmatched by them. They did not have no physicality whatsoever. They got roughened up, and that's not the case anymore with this hockey team. The Devils able to play defense, get solid goaltending, be tough on pucks, force turnovers, lay the body. They're able to do it all, and they could match well with any team. We saw that with the Panthers. They beat the Panthers at their own game in their own building twice, and the Panthers are an outstanding hockey team. So and the Devils just keep that going. It's really impressive stuff, and if the Devils keep this up, hopefully they obviously make the playoffs. But if they do, I have a good feeling that they could make a really deep run. They have the capability to do so with a well balanced team that Tom Fitzgerald is for, and as Sheldon Keefe at the helm, really feel good about how things are trending right now.
Yeah, I just want to add too, because people are going to compare and say, oh, well, the team 2 seasons ago prob most likely won more games than this team. That's what people are going to say down the line. But that was so heavily influenced by the 13-game win streak. After the 13-game win streak, the Devils didn't play hockey that was that much over 500. Like, they weren't like blowing teams out of the water. They were still good. You had that hot Dawson Mercer run. Dougie Hamilton was on. Jack Hughes was on. Their defense was well enough. You had like the Grace Marino pairing that was playing well. But they still weren't like dominating teams and like finding different ways to win, really, like in the way that this team is, because you mentioned the different elements, the physicality, the defensive system. That team still had games where they'd give up 5 6 goals fairly often, but the 13-game win streak put them in such a comfortable position that it didn't really matter. There was one point where that team had lost like I think 6 or 7 straight home games.
So funny enough, so basically the stretch that the Devils are on, like a 6 game homestand, the Devils had that same thing 2 years ago, and I believe they lost almost every game in that homestand in December. So I mean, it's good that they started. That's why I was a little worried entering this homestand because I'm like, oh, this cannot be a repeat of what happened 2 years ago.
Yep, but I mean, to their credit, they're built a much different way now. The physicality, they're able to wear other teams down. That team 2 years ago didn't. They succeeded off the rush, and that was basically it. And Sheldon Keefe said a couple days ago at practice, you could be a team that plays well off the rush, but you can't be a team where that's your only focus. And the fact that he straight up said that, knowing that's how the Devils were 2 years ago, shows that he knows, yeah, you could do well off the rush, and certainly the Devils have the speed to do that, but you need to grind and get some of those goals, and that's why you have guys like Paul Cotter, Stefan Nason, digging in front of the net. Even Timo Meyer last night, he still had to be in front of the net to get that puck. So just a lot of good signs. That feels like there's been more positive episodes this season than all of last season.
Nice.
So we'll see where it goes. But if you're a Devils fan, you have to enjoy it right now, because certainly wasn't that way last season. The Devils are just playing hockey that's akin to the teams in the top of the league right now.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing how they do for the rest of these 4 games on this homestand. It's gonna be a big homestand. You want to win at least 3 or 4 out of 5.
Yeah, and I mean, they definitely have the talent to do so. Anything could happen. We'll see. All teams have stretches. I'm not going to say the Devils are going to be great the rest of the year. Every team is going to have stretches where they don't play well for a period of time. But it'll all get resolved if they're healthy and have the team that they currently have, I believe. So we'll see you all on the next episode. We appreciate your support as always. Stay tuned to our socials for any coverage of the Devils, and peace out.